Welcome to Rebuild, Revive and Thrive, where we're going to dance your way through back and hip discomfort. I'm Lisa McLean and I'm the founder of rebuildprogram.com.au. We're going to talk all things pain and inflammation. Better yet, we're going to decrease the frustration, we're going to increase the confidence, and we're going to just make getting older fun and enjoyable. So make sure that you like, follow, subscribe, and stay tuned weekly to kick the pain to the curb. Welcome back to another episode where we're going to dissect posture. Before I get into it, I need you to go to rebuildprogram.com.au and check out the new Rebuild hat. I've got this bad boy on my head right now, and I'm going to tell you now, it's so sexy. Who needs a sexy hat? I need a sexy hat. Go and check it out. It's going to be up there this afternoon. Anywho, that's a little plug for myself, but all seriousness, why am I talking about posture? You're probably rolling your eyes thinking, oh God, here we go, Lise, another chat about posture. Well, what I want to do that's going to set the normal chat aside is, you know what, I know that you can actually stand up straight, roll your shoulders back and down, but just by doing those actions is not going to improve it long term. I want to go through some pretty important factors that I want you to remember when you're improving your posture and how to actually build a strong spine so that you can actually have the correct posture. Now, we don't want 100%. We don't need perfect. We just want to be better, because having better posture means better pain. Is there a better pain? Less pain and better movements. So let's just firstly just touch base on what is posture, because everybody's movement is different. Everybody's body is different. No one is exactly the same. So if you want to have the same posture as Debbie next door or Auntie Barbara, get it out of your head, because it's not going to happen. Your posture is your posture, and how you move, how you hold your body. So obviously having correct posture is going to put less strain and less stress on your body. In turn becomes pain-free, start eliminating pain, and prevent injury, obviously. What does it mean though? Okay, I want you to picture having a vertical line from your ear, your shoulders, your hips, your knees, and just in front of your ankles, and having that straight line. That is correct alignment. And if you can't picture it, head over to my Facebook page, Lisa McLean, or my free Facebook community group, which is Rebuild, Eliminating Pain for Busy People. I'm forever putting pictures of my clients in there with their posture pics. So go over there and check that out if you can't picture it. But basically, it's having your pelvis and spine stacked on top of each other. And then that way your joints are now all in alignment. Now, I say pelvis because it's the center of our movement. So we need our pelvis and our spine to be friends. And I'm telling you now that if you're listening to this podcast because you've got back pain, yours are not. And we need to really address it. When we talk about posture, if I'm going to give you the whole body posture to correct, you're not going to be able to do it. So I'm just going to talk about some important factors just to dissect it for you to actually carry on and implement. And your pelvis is definitely up there. Now, along with having correct pelvis positioning, we need to think about neutral spine. And you've probably heard the word neutral spine being thrown around, but what is it? So neutral spine is having our S-shape natural curve in our spine. When we talk about this S-shape curve, we have three curves in our spine. In our cervical is in our neck. So it's an inward curve, thoracic, which is around our shoulder blades, outward curve, and then down to our lumbar, which is an inward curve again. And these percentages of curves depends on correct alignment. And when we're in pain, I'm going to tell you that percentage is probably out. So when we talk about neutral spine, this is now, again, like I said, taking strain and pressure off our spine and allowing our spine to be in a stable and strong position. When it's not, when those curves are out, you've now got an issue with your pelvis. And any dysfunction, any of this misalignment that happens just over time will actually put your pelvis out into either an anterior pelvic tilt, posterior pelvic tilt, rotated pelvis, or a tilted pelvis. And these are the common issues within the pelvis. And how I actually explain this to my clients is if you had a bucket of water and you popped it in your pelvis, which way would the water tilt or spill, do you think? Do you think that the water will over spill down your legs? Well, that's an anterior pelvic tilt. If the bucket's going to tilt backwards and goes down your bum, then that's a posterior pelvic tilt, and rotated and sideways, obviously, that's where the water goes as well. So to fix your pelvis in a neutral pelvis, I want you to exaggerate these tilts. So tilt it forward, tilt it back, tilt it, rotate it, until you actually get to a position where you feel less pressure through your spine. And it could be lumbar, thoracic, cervical, throughout the spine. When you start exaggerating, just go little exaggerations and then sort of just bring it back, and you're not going to break your pelvis because there is percentage of movement through your pelvis. Where you feel less pressure, that's where you want to start improving on. That now is your neutral spine. So with this, between your neck and your thoracic and your lumbar, we have percentage of movement. So your neck, the big bad boy that's on top of your shoulders, that's full of bone and it's really heavy in your body, it has 85% of movement. So that comes to 85% worth of movement, but 50% worth of rotation in our cervical, all right? When it comes down to our thoracic, we have a mobility through that, but because it's connected to your spine and your ribs, we want about 35% movement through our thoracic. Coming down to your lumbar, it's limited range of motion because it protects through your sacrum, it protects through your pelvis, and we only want 15% of movement through our lumbar. If you're here listening to this because you've got lower back pain, probably 80% of us have switched that. You've got restricted up through your thoracic and too much movement through your lumbar and restricted through your hip mobility, which then puts all of our alignment through our spine out. When I hear people say, Lisa, I've got back pain, how can you help? I don't hear lower back pain when they say it to me. I hear back. I hear spine, because your spine's 33 vertebrae all connected into one. So if there's a little bit that's out or misaligned through the lumbar, or that you've got too much movement through the lumbar, let's say you've got 30% movement through your lumbar, we need to fix the thoracic and we need to address the cervical, because they've all compensated and now, you've got dysfunction throughout the whole spine. You may be getting lower back pain, but you're actually increasingly getting more headaches. It's due to your spine alignment, and it's due to correcting your posture. So posture is alignment. Posture is how you hold your body, remember? Now let's talk about how you can actually improve your posture and your alignment. And before we get into that, I need you to know the difference between strong and stable, or basically knowing strong, stable, and having spinal flexion. So people want to have strong. Strong is sexy, right? But when we talk about movement and corrective biomechanics, we want stable. Stable doesn't sound sexy, but it's where you want to be. Being strong means you got well-developed muscles. Being strong means that you can better handle movements and less prone to injury. But having stable spine means that it's actually in correct alignment and will stay in correct alignment. It means that it can handle force. It means that it can now handle everyday movements, and it's those little jerks that you make, or those little quick movements that you might need to catch yourself. That's being stable, and the role of the muscles knowing exactly what to do. And that's what we need to retrain first, and then promote strong. If you're going to go straight to wanting to be strong, you're going to now stay in the overactive and underactive muscle pattern. So first stable, then strong. That's what we need to work on. But also know that the spine needs a certain percentage of rotation. So we need to build stability through rotation as well. Why rotation? Because you're probably thinking, when I rotate, it hurts. Well, you're in this state because these muscles have become weak, and underactive muscles and overactive muscles promote the same pain. But when we're getting pain from, rotating, we know now that we need to work on that. And there's a process for that with the releasing. And if you're confused about releasing, go and check out my myofascial episode, which was the last episode. But we need to work on daily movements. You got to remember that even getting out of bed in the morning, you're rotating your spine. Getting in and out of the car, rotating the spine. Even putting groceries away, you're rotating your spine. So why would we not focus on that as well? So creating a stable, spine. Creating a spine that's mobile, and a balance between mobility and stability is what we want to do. And that's where when we're wanting to correct your posture long term, you really need to think about this. So picture when you're moving your spine being A, in neutral position, and B, when you're doing your corrective exercises, you are choosing the right exercises to become stable. Rotation, you can have mobility, let's call it a mobile where needed, and then work on strong. And that's where I'm going to come into creating a stable spine, but optimizing your movement through this, optimizing your spinal stability. If you still need to do releasing. Let's not beat around the bush there. I'm not here to say that, hey, you know what, go straight to stability, because you probably will need some myofascial releasing as well. But that's not where you stay. People, when we're in pain, humans, our subconscious goes straight to stretching, goes straight to releasing because we're in pain. But keep in mind, underactive muscles and overactive muscles send off the same signal to our body. So when we're talking about optimizing our spinal stability, you want to make sure that we're focusing on correcting alignment. So that you're in correct alignment, you're in that neutral spine. So the answer to that, the solution to this is to what I said before, go and exaggerate that pelvic tilt. If you can do this 3 to 4 times a day, then you're now going to be better off in 2 months' time, and you're creating a good habit and your body's going to remember it. But if you only do it once a week, then you're not creating a good habit. If you're serious about changing this, then just do it. Do you know, if you're sitting or standing cutting vegetables up at home, give your pelvis a little exaggerate, find your neutral spine and hold it. Having correct alignment and creating this habit is going to be essential. So when we want to actually talk about reducing strain and reducing pressure throughout your spine and your movements, we want to make sure that we're creating a stable spine. And a stable spine is where we can actually, a strong spine will produce force and a stable spine will control force. We want control because that'll absorb the shock before we can produce force and develop our muscles. I hope that makes sense. So if you are doing strength training and you're still in pain, then let's reverse it and focus on the stability component of it. So how are you going to move efficiently, and how do we improve efficient movements, I should probably say, is mimic lifestyle factors. What movement gives you most pain? Is it getting in and out of the car? Well, then we need to focus on rotation. Is it standing? If you're standing for a long period of time, do you get an ache in your back? Well, we need to focus on that lumbar spine, and we need to focus on creating the correct stability through that lumbar spine and mobility through your hip joint. So when we talk about that, we need to improve balance and coordination, which is part of movement. Because remember, posture is how we hold our body and how we move through our body. Balance, when we walk, we are now on our at least 1 foot throughout the stance, throughout the face, throughout our gait. Let me dissect that, get there in the end. Throughout our gait, you are now on 1 foot at one time. So if you find balance hard, then your body finds walking hard, because standing on one leg is balancing, right? Well, then you're not walking correctly, or we're not stable enough through our movement, and we're going to be slumping through our spine, and we're going to be putting pressure through our pelvis. So just remember that. You need to now focus on the weak link. And 90% of us are not doing our balance exercises. Whether you are a gym junkie, whether you are not exercising and just like going for a walk, or whether you don't exercise at all or don't do any corrective exercises, your balance, and you're in pain, let me put that point, your balance is going to suffer. Because, hey, you know what? No one has ever said to me, but balance is easy. I'm great at balance when you're in pain. So focus on that weak link and focus on your balance. You know, how is your balance? How are your single stance exercises? Really start putting them in to your everyday activities. And another factor is, core strength. And I hate it when people say, oh, just strengthen your core and your back will be better. To a degree, yes. But if you've got back pain, are you going to go and do sit-ups? I don't think so. And I hope you don't. If you are, cancel that. Stop doing it. Core exercises, I want you to actually focus on balance because that's core, and mimicking daily activities and doing functional exercises. So functional exercises where we're not just focusing on one part of the body, we're focusing on connecting the body, and that's going to bring the core component into it. Another factor in making sure that we have the correct mobility and stability. The body is made up of firmness and flexibility, which is mobility and stability if you really want to look into it. So having the correct percentage and knowing that our spine is 33 vertebrae, but one whole system, and we want to move it in the correct way. Our muscles all have a role to play. Making sure that you have the correct mobility and stability, the corrective exercises for stability, and the fascial releasing for mobility, that's your balance. So making sure that we have that right throughout the process. And also, a lot of people come to me and say, when I sit for long periods of time, I get back pain. Well, of course you do, because the spine is now compressed into the pelvis, and we need to actually make sure that we're lifting up through the spine out of the pelvis when we're sitting. But who does that? I mean, I'm sitting back in a beanbag right now, comfy as, and I'm not lifting up through my spine. But again, I'm not in pain. So I've been there, done that. But you need to have correct sitting posture, feet flat, not cross-legged. We want to have our knees, if we can, our feet elevated off the ground on a little step, and our knees as close to our hip height as possible, putting less pressure through your pelvis and your lumbar spine. We want to make sure that we have our correct head position, because when we're on the computer lots or looking at our phone lots and sitting down, we have our head tilted forward. That's a big no-no. That's automatic. Instead of an inward curve in your cervical, outward curve in your cervical, and then the chain reaction happens. Our shoulders back and down. We don't want to slouch. That's going to promote that head tilting forward. So, and your back needs to be supported. And my little trick there is, any of my clients know the little trick of 2 tennis balls and a sock, many purposes. If you want to know that, reach out and I'll let you know the many purposes. But 2 tennis balls and a sock, pop it on the back of your chair, and now press your back up against the chair and don't let the tennis balls fall. That's now going to have your back supported. You're putting pressure through there, and also your core will be actually activated. Yeah, it'll be actually activated because we're in correct position. So there's all these little factors that I want you to think about. And instead of just thinking I need to stand up straight and tall, it's actually having the right balance between mobility and stability, and really thinking of how your spine is positioned when you hold your body. And that's essential to having correct posture. That's a wrap on another episode. As always, if you've loved this episode, make sure you go like, follow, subscribe, go and share it on your socials, either Facebook or Instagram, and make sure you tag me in it. Let's share the love and get as many people as we can out of pain. And with that, I'm going to leave you until our next episode. Make it your mission to be more aware of yourself and keep improving to be a better you.